Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of Tuesday, June 18th, 2024.
Oh, I'm Charles Shin. I am a concerned citizen, also a retired Marine. Dear board members, question: why was it illegal for California State Assembly to pass a bill that eliminated hand counting of paper ballots except in sparsely populated locations? And that by itself kind of sounds a little bit odd, that you can count ballots in sparsely populated areas, but not in heavily populated ones. Answer: only to have machine digitized ballot counting breaks the law. That requires there be more than one choice or option for counting ballots. Eliminating hand counting breaks the federal state law or the guide rails that state, quote, counting of ballots in lieu of utilizing a voting system is permitted. California Election Code 15270, 15290, 19207, and California Election 15372 and 15375. The requirements show two options are needed, and, quote, utilization of paper ballots only is not permitted and is backed by applicable federal and state laws. These laws would also apply if it said, quote, utilization of digitized ballots only is not permitted. It's an important distinction. This illegal bill does not stop Kern County from legally hand counting ballots. And we picked those election codes right out of the second page in the handout, which came from Amy Espinosa's own report to the election, to the board on, I think, November of last year. I would also like to point out that our team has reached out to Supervisor Perez for potential coordination for seeing our county elections improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, was it you at our last meeting, someone mentioned a report that should have been, in your words, I don't want to speak for you, should have been given by now from elections. Do you recall what that was?
Yes, that was that 5-year past review of the removals, which is why we were highlighted with the Judicial Watch legal suit.
Removals of the people from the voter rolls?
Removals of folks who have moved out of Kern County, folks who have died, folks who have moved to the other side of the state. I think the majority of which folks moved out of state.
Thank you, Mr. Shin.
Yes, sir. Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Thank you. When did you call my office, Mr. Shin?
I called yesterday.
Okay, perfect. I was unaware of that, and I'm sorry we haven't gotten back to you, but we'll get right back to you.
Oh, no problem. And I talked to Christian. I think there was a voicemail.
Okay, thank you so much.
Morning.
Good morning, board. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Glenn Clayton, C-L-A-Y-T-O-N. Puerto Rico's Election Commission said Tuesday that they are reviewing its contract with a U.S. electronic voting company after hundreds of discrepancies were discovered following the island's heated primaries. The problem stemmed from software that caused the machine supplied by Dominion voting systems to incorrectly calculate vote totals. Well, no one is contesting the result, but the machine reported vote counts were lower than the paper ones in some cases, and some machines reversed certain totals or reported veto or zero votes for some candidates. Both parties that were voting on the island, Democratic Party and the New Progressive Party, reported hundreds of ballots showing inaccurate results, with a reporting of 700 errors and some 350 discrepancies. In response to the discrepancies, the Elections Commission conducted a full vote tally and audited paper receipts from hundreds of ballot counting machines. So what did we learn? Well, Dominion voting systems are subject to serious mistakes. And by the way, do we have those 4 assessment keys that we requested from the Secretary of State back in February, I believe, to electronically observe voting in action, so that we can continually control the voters' ballots in a chain of custody law. If not, we'll be blind, ladies and gentlemen. Number two thing we learned, paper ballots once again prove its accuracy and its reliability. Thank you so much for your time.
Can I give you an invite to an election integrity promotion so that y'all can come see some of this so you can't say I've never seen any evidence? Along with the Dominion machine, those machines he's talking about, there was 6,000 of them. By the way, Jess Sanders, there were 6,000 of them that they've gone through in that one vote. In the Venezuelan, it was the Dominion also that overturned that vote. So here in the States, we have 320,000 ghost voters in the state of Michigan, influenced by a Soros-backed Secretary of State. Judicial Watch has found 1.8 million voters in 29 states that are fraudulent voters. And these findings are just a couple of examples of the voter fraud activist game plan. Other tools the liberal leftists use are and defend are vote by mail ballots, motor voter, the removal of voter ID, the Dominion voting machine, and dirty voter rolls, which seems to be actively protected right here in Kern County by Amy. The refusal to cleaning these things up is outrageous. I have many voters right now that I could call from another state and say, hey, I need you to vote on this. And since they're still on the voter roll, I could have them do that. It's ridiculous that I know of at least 16 people I could have vote here in California, don't even live in the state and haven't been here for years. So I'd ask that y'all get on it and get these voter rolls cleaned up and stop making excuses to protect a transparent, to protect a dirty voter roll. And I'd like to see some transparent voting. Do you have a question?
I have a question. You said you know 16 people that have moved out of state.
Yes.
But I'm assuming you mean they are still on, and you know that they're still on the voter rolls.
Yes. I've come into.
Can you, not right now, I don't need you to say their names, but can you provide me with a list of that later? Or
I will have to check with, all that data is going into a database that will be presented at once.
Okay.
In a lawsuit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'm suggesting that we need to know who we need to take off. I want to forward that information, if you know of some, to Ms. Espinoza. But if you want to wait, that's okay too. It's up to you. Thank you.
My name is Ralph Robles, R-O-B-L-E-S. I am a veteran. And we have been having so much news on coming out from one side of the country to the other on the Dominion voting machines. And I came across this one on the voting machines in Puerto Rico that I'd love to share with you if I may. Time for a replay. This is from an old presentation given by the concerned citizens. The Kern Vote website, which we rely on to update the registered voter count, showed a disturbing trend in January. The registered voter count increased by 54,000, only to decrease by 53,000 2 weeks later. This is a significant fluctuation. It is equivalent to the size of Delano. It is not just a statistical anomaly, it's a red flag that demands immediate attention. What could have caused such a drastic change so close to the primary election? Ensuring the accuracy of the voter roll is not just important, it's critical for the integrity of the electoral process. We cannot afford to overlook this. We need to know the specific measures the Elections Department implemented to verify the correctness of the voter roll. When vote by mail ballots are mandated, further, what proactive steps were taken to guarantee accuracy before the distribution of the VBM ballots. Amy's admission that she is unfamiliar with the details of Kern's EMS is deeply concerning, given her tenure as the assistant ROV. This situation is not just a cause for concern, it demands immediate action to ensure the accuracy of our voter roll. The NVRA requires regular voter registration data maintenance to safeguard the integrity of our election outcomes. Folks, we brought this to you months ago. We have had no response. What up with that?
Thank you, Mr. Robles.
I'm not here to talk about the Dominion machines. I am here to talk about election integrity. If you want to know about the Dominion machines, you can talk to people in Costa Rica right now. What I am concerned about is exactly what, yes?
We all know you, but we need to just state your name for the
Sure,
record.
Terry Maxwell.
Thank you.
Concerning the voter rolls, I'm going to go after the low-hanging fruit. This should be easy stuff. It really should. DMV and any of the federal government agencies are signing people up for voting. It's not their responsibility, really, to check whether that person is a citizen of the United States of America. However, both the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of California requires that people who vote in our elections are citizens of the United States of America. So who does that fall on? Should it not fall on Amy Espinosa? Is there not, if you just took the last 6 years of people who have registered and maybe unregistered, looked at those people who have registered and cross-reference that with something in the data banks that tell whether that person is either a citizen or not? Should be a pretty easy and simple and fast way of telling whether somebody is a citizen and has the right to vote. If that person does not have the right to vote, Ms. Espinosa does have the right to tell them they cannot vote, and they would not ever even receive a ballot because they would have to be removed. And it is her responsibility to do that. I would ask that this be pointed out to her. I have more thoughts on that, but it seems to me that this might be the solution that we've all been looking for as far as the people who are voting in our elections that should not be voting. It should be pretty simple to find out that those two databases, 6 years of people voting in our elections that registered during that time, and whether those people were actual citizens or not. But I would also request that this board ask Amy Espinosa to every week come in and give an update on what has been done in the last week to ensure that our voter rolls have been reviewed and have been cleaned up. That's low-hanging fruit for you, it's low-hanging fruit for her. But we as the citizens are concerned about these elections coming up, and we want to make sure that only the citizens, because of the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of California, are the ones that are voting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Terry. Okay,
Terry,
that's okay. Terry, I have a
Supervisor
question.
Perez has a question.
Sure.
Sorry, Chairman.
No problem.
Good to see you, Terry. Good afternoon.
to see you.
Are you aware of any efforts to register non-citizens or maybe some accidental registrations or any category of registrations of people who are not authorized to vote in our elections? Are you aware of any of that in terms of registration or separately and voting?
I think anybody with any intelligence knows that if the person goes into the DMV and is never asked as to whether they're a citizen or not, but are encouraged to register to vote, are probably not registering to vote as citizens, but registering to vote simply because they've been asked. That you can go to the DMV and ask people who work there, and they will, in a private meeting with you, and one where you cannot divulge their name, will admit that that's exactly what's going on. I can anecdotally tell you that there are people who live in Arvin, and actually in all of the communities of Bakersfield, that tell me that there are examples of people who are coming in, getting registered, and once they get their mailed out vote, they are paid cash in order for a certain group to get that ballot from them so that they can fill it out any way they want.
Okay, so back to the DMV, when they fill out a registration form, when somebody fills out a registration form, there is the glaring top question, are you a U.S. citizen, on the top of that form?
That's correct.
Are you saying they're filling out that form, or there's some separate process whereby somebody's being registered?
They're saying that they are citizens.
Okay, so they're lying on the form?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it seems to me that, quite frankly, anybody who has registered in the last 6 years because you don't have to go through the whole data bank. But I think in the last 6 years, when we've been concerned about who's on our voter rolls and who isn't, that it would be pretty easy to cross-match those with either a federal registry or a state registry that signifies whether somebody is a citizen or not.
Terry, if a person was going to lie to the DMV, why take the time to go to the DMV? If there's some...
Because they need either a driver's license or an ID in order to get a job, in order to come...
I mean, why not just, if there's some concerted effort, as you say, you have anecdotal evidence too, which is not particularly helpful, Terry, and I know you know that. But nonetheless, you have anecdotal evidence that there is some concerted effort to register people who are not authorized to vote.
Right.
That's a huge problem and something that would alarm all of us. Why would they have to send people to the DMV to register them? Couldn't they just register them themselves if that individual was willing to lie on the application?
Well, if they come into the day of the voting and claim that they're citizens and want to vote, there isn't any way that they can say, excuse me, but you have to prove that you're a citizen.
Okay.
Supervisor Perez,
okay.
there isn't anything that the federal government, whether it be and the state government, the DMV, or if somebody were to go to the Social Security Administration, they're all encouraged to register people to vote. Sure, on that form it does say, are you a U.S. citizen? And if they check it yes, who's to check it except for Amy Espinosa?
Well, the Secretary of State is my understanding of how that
your elections here in Kern County are run by Amy Espinosa. She has the authority to run those elections any way she wants, and if she wants someone to prove that they're a citizen here, she's within her rights as a election official to require that.
Okay. The
Secretary of State has made it pretty obvious that she has no interest in finding out whether somebody is an actual citizen here or not.
Understood.
We can't turn to her.
I understood. I think I understand your position now better. Again, Terry, if you have evidence or information that is specific.
That's the requirement of this board, and it's the requirement of Amy Espinosa. We're citizens. We vote you in so that you will do that for us, so that you'll put up a sting operation, so you find out, you go to the DMV and say, excuse me, but this person right here just registered to vote. Did you ask them if they're a citizen? And you'll find out, no, I'm sorry, but it's against the law for me to ask them if they're a citizen.
Okay, understood.
Understand the laws that are overseeing our elections, and I think you'll be very surprised at how many people potentially here in Kern County are voting that are not citizens of the United States of America.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
Anytime.
Thank you, Chair.
Hello.
Pamela Reese, REECE. In case you didn't know, I'd like to talk about rendering unused ballots unusable. Immediately upon the closing of the polls and before any voted ballot is to be counted, we are supposed to, in the presence of anyone in the room, render the unused ballots unusable. There's 3 ways to do this. One is by drawing across its face an X 3 inches or larger, or by tearing or cutting a significant piece of the ballot without entering the serial numbers. Or the third is by placing all of the unused ballots into a special container, a cardboard box, which is what we do now, and seal it, sign it, and the elections official will put it away in the elections office here in the Taj Mahal. However, that's not a very good way to render unused ballots unusable, because they are able to keep these ballots up until 6 years. Ballots may be recycled, 6 months, for 6 months. Why would anyone need to recycle a ballot after an election is over? That's a good question, and I think it should be addressed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.